So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Here back here, BSN Network. This is a BSN Network podcast here today. It is Friday, December 31st. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far today and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Friday, December 31st here today, coming off another big night last night in sports. It is the last day of 2021 when the strike clocks 12. When the clock strikes 12 midnight tonight, it will be a new year. It will be 2022, and that's always, an exciting time. Not just for, regular everyday life and all that stuff, but in terms of sports too. I mean, a lot to look forward to in the year 2022. Obviously, all the leagues continue to go. You got the NFL playoffs right around the corner. That will really start to ramp up in January. And then, as we all know, the Super Bowl into February. So, super exciting stuff around the corner in sports and all that great stuff. So, that's always good. Coming off another big night last night. And tonight will kind of be like the nightcap of them all. New Year's Eve, got some really good college football playoff games on tonight. You start off with Alabama versus Cincinnati, then you got Georgia and Michigan in the in the other game. So that's really exciting for me as a fan, and I'm sure many of you are excited. We'll get to those games, and we'll get to the college football and stuff like that later on in the show. That's to recap what happened last night. Nets took a tough loss. I was very frustrated watching that game, and my frustration, I guess, kind of boiled over towards the end. And like I said, I don't want to sound like a greedy fan or we lost. You're 23-10 and you're complaining. But last night was, I think, one of our worst performances that I've seen in a little bit with this team. I mean, just not good. I mean, it was just not a good performance. And I'm sitting there watching that game, and I'm thinking to myself, if we pull this thing out, this is one of those wins that you chalk up, you're happy about, but boy, you cannot play like this if you want to, go on and do great things and win championships, and that's obviously the Nets' goal and expectation. But sitting there last night watching that game, just the frustration of it. We couldn't make shots, couldn't rebound, couldn't finish at the rim. We even had a tough time free throws. There's a lot of points we left up on the board. Just opportunities, we were not taking advantage of our opportunities, and I've always said this in sports. One of the worst things, right, other than penalties and stuff like that, not in turnovers, right, in all sports. Baseball's a little different because there are no penalties. Baseball, I guess you gotta say, pitching, if you don't let up runs or you don't let up the long ball, or when you have opportunities, when you get runners on base, if you can get them in, that will help. Whenever you have that, like in sports, when you don't take advantage of your opportunities, that's one of the worst things that could happen. Like the Nets yesterday. Open shots left and right, rebounds, opportunities you had opportunities at the free throw line, and we couldn't capitalize. I was so frustrating as a fan. I'm sitting there, open three, come on, make it, misses. Get the rebound, kick it out again, one more time, misses. Just could not take advantage of opportunities. And I feel like the ultimate frustration of them all was when on the final possession when the Sixers went up, missed it. Nets couldn't grab the rebound. We had it in our hand, literally, just I don't know how it happened. Couldn't get the rebound. Embiid got it, got an and one, missed the free throw, but at that point the game was over. So just frustration, frustrating performance, not a good game. And yesterday looked a whole lot like. And like I said, it's one game, and I'm not going to overreact, but yesterday was not good. Not good at all. And I get it, guys just coming back for the first time, and that was Aldridge's first game since the COVID list. So, there's going to be some rust and stuff, but boy, oh boy, with that was an ugly performance. So, Nets took the loss last night. They have a day off today, regroup, and they'll retackle things on Saturday, which I believe they play the Clippers tomorrow night. back at Barclays Center. So we'll continue the little 3-game homestand that they are on. As expected, there was a lot of Kyrie talk yesterday on the broadcast. So from all the looks of it, that January 5th game is kind of 50-50 right now, against the Pacers. Like I said, I think it might be one of those things where he might want to try his hardest to get back, because after that, if he doesn't play that game, he's got to wait a whole another week in order to play again. So it will be interesting to see what he decides to do and what the Nets decide to do. But anyway, a lot to get to today on the podcast. We're going to start it off. Like I said, it's a Football Friday podcast, so a lot to get to. College football, NFL. This is a crazy time of year for football. You're getting into the playoffs. College, you're getting into the semifinals and in the championship, as we all know. So a lot to get to. We're going to start off with the NFL game picks. I'll give you my rundown on each of the 16 games taking place this weekend. Now, 15 of them are on Sunday. One of the games are on Monday, the Monday night game between the Browns and the Steelers. I'll wait to give you my pick on that on Monday. So I'll give you my game picks, preview the Jets and the Giants, the two lousy New York football teams, as they are only 2 weeks away from ending their season. Jets face the Buccaneers at home, final home game of the season. And the Giants are on the road to play the Chicago Bears, final road game of the season. So they'll flip-flop next week. Jets will head on the road next week to play the Bills. Giants will head home. I think they'll play Washington to wrap up the season. So it will be interesting to see how all those games go. We'll get to the game picks, give you all that stuff like usual. Get to fantasy football preview, give you advice, all you need to know. Start of the championship this week. I'm not in the championship, but for those of you who are in the championship, I'll try to give you whatever I can to help you out. Last second lineup advice. It's tough because I do these pods on Fridays. So on Friday, when I'm reading you this now, I might say, oh, this guy's healthy, this guy's in the lineup. Come Sunday, he might not play. So that's why it's tough sometimes. That's why I used to do a Sunday show, but it just became too much. I would do Monday through Friday, and I would do a Sunday show, and it just became too much. I do plan on doing a Sunday show this year on baseball. I'm still figuring that out. But it's something that I might be doing. I'm not probably going to do on YouTube. I'll probably do that Sunday show on like an Apple Podcasts. Upload it through there. Just listen. It was just like a listen show, like a 45 minute show. YouTube, I want to dedicate this channel to strictly just 4 or 5 days, Monday through Friday sports talk. And if I want to do any extra shows, it'd be on a different platform, which I'm still figuring that out. But then we'll get to New York Sports Update. It's a little off topic. I won't get to all that stuff. But the New York Sports Update I will get to. Like I said, Nets lost last night. They'll play tomorrow night against the Clippers. Rangers play tonight against the Lightning. They'll wrap up their little Florida road trip tonight. And, got to hope that everything goes well there. Some college basketball on today. Kentucky plays as well at noon Eastern against High Point. So, again, a confidence-boosting game. You got your first SEC win. Now let's see us come out and play well, right? That's a big thing. You get a big win. You get a nice win against Missouri. You crush them, beat them big time. Now you get an opportunity against a High Point team that's nowhere to your skill level. Go out there and beat them up. And then you really get into the prime of your schedule. Because after this game, it's a bunch of SEC play and other big games. So it's an opportunity to get in the win column and continue to build confidence as the season progresses. So a lot to get to today on the podcast. Obviously got the college football games. Rutgers is in a bowl game for the first time, and I don't even know how long, since 2014. So that will be fun to watch. That's 11 Eastern on ESPN. Rutgers, Wake Forest, Tax Slayer, Gator Bowl. So definitely a pretty big bowl game for Rutgers to be in, and we'll see what they can do. But anyway, that will do it for the intro here. And with all that being said, this is BSN Podcast, and let's get right into it. So there was no Thursday Night Football on last night, as we all know, which was kind of weird, but it was fine. I mean, I don't know. I'm not like everybody. Everybody feels the need to have Thursday Night Football. I'm okay with that. I think having pretty much all the games on Sundays the way it should be. Just Sundays full of just chaos. That's fun. That's awesome. Having your Sunday full of football. There's times this year, especially where you had that weird COVID week, where you had only a few games on Sunday, and that's not how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be Sunday's supposed to be football, and there's supposed to be a ton of games on Sunday. But no Thursday Night Football last night, so no game to recap. So got all the games this weekend outside of the Monday night game are all going to be taking place on Sunday. So a lot of games this weekend, a lot of big matchups this weekend. And before I give you all my picks, right now I stand at 150 and 89 going into Week 17. So, like I mentioned plenty of times last week, I went 10-6. This week, I'm obviously 0-0 here. So, I'm 150 and 89 so far this week, or so far this year. So, hoping that by the final week of the season, if I can try to get to 10 win weeks, maybe get to 170 mark, that I guess would be the goal. If I can get 20 wins, 20 correct picks over the next 2 weeks, that would be about 10 picks correct each week. That's possible, definitely possible. So we'll see how everything goes. But 150 and 89 going into Week 17. So a lot of good games this weekend, a lot of big ones in terms of playoffs and seasons and all that stuff. Unfortunately, just in another year where Jets and Giants are playing pretty much meaningless football at this point. Not meaningless football, but football that win or lose, it won't impact your playoff position. Maybe you'll impact the opposing team's playoff position, but it won't impact yours, and you're not playing for anything at this time of the season. And that seems to be the unfortunate common trend with New York football. Is it's been this every year, whereby you get to the December months, and at that point you're looking at draft, and you're just looking to get a couple wins to confidence boost you go into the offseason. That's kind of what Week 17 has in store too for the Jets and the Giants. But a lot of great games this weekend, a lot of big ones to get to. So we're going to get it kicked off here. Like I said, I go in random order, so I whatever my list on here has them in order. So let's get this thing rolling here. First game up on the list is the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals. Chiefs come into this game 11-4. Bengals come into this game 9-6. Chiefs are 4.5-point favorites. The over-under is set at 51. This game goes on Sunday, 1 Eastern on CBS. This is the big game of the weekend. This is one of the biggest games in the AFC and really one of the biggest games in the NFL in terms of magnitude and everything like that. I mean, I don't want to get into the whole playoff standpoint between Steelers and stuff, but after looking it over, if the Bengals would to lose this game and the Steelers win Monday night against the Browns, that would leave next week need a must-win for the Bengals in order to get in, and that would now make the Steelers need to win, and then they would need some help with the Browns beating the Bengals next weekend. Bengals have been cruising, right? They've been playing really good football. Last week, I feel like was really a statement win for them. A lot of people, including myself, were still kind of finicky on the Bengals and still kind of like, is this team legit? Can they really make a run? Are they really this good? And they went out and they said, hey, yeah, we are. Joe Burrow passed for 525 yards, 4 touchdowns. They crushed the Ravens, crushed their secondary. And now the Bengals are like the leaders of the AFC North, and they're making a strong push towards getting up there in the AFC ranks. And sure, they need some help if they really want to get up to maybe the number 2 seed or whatever, but it's a big game. And for the Chiefs to go on the road in Cincinnati, it's not going to be easy. Now, I tend to say this a lot, right? I do believe in this Bengals team. I really do. I really do believe in this Bengals team in terms of they got the talent, they got the quarterback, they got the weapons, they got the receivers, they got all of that stuff. But you know how I feel about the Kansas City Chiefs, right? I think the Chiefs are still one of the best teams in the NFL. I think you automatically going into the playoffs this season have to count the Chiefs in as a real, true Super Bowl contender. I don't care what happened in the first 5 weeks of the season, okay? They are a different football team than what we saw in the first 5 weeks of the season. And ultimately, I just think more experience and overall just a better team, not by much, because the Bengals are really, really good. I think the Chiefs win this game. I think they go on the road against Cincinnati. They just have a little bit of the better roster. They're a little more experienced in these type of big games. Sometimes a big game, loud crowd at home, so much on the line. Young teams can tend to struggle a little bit. Chiefs have been in these moments a lot. Give me the Chiefs. I don't think they cover the 4.5 points, though. I will tell you that. I think they win 31-28. I don't think they cover the 4.5. But I do think the Chiefs win, and I'll take the over on the over-under of 51, and I think the Chiefs win 31-28. Chiefs win, but don't cover. Alrighty, next up here we got the Titans and the Dolphins. Titans come into this game 10-5. Dolphins come into this game 8-7. Titans are 3.5-point favorites. The over/under is set at 39.5. This game goes on 1 Eastern on CBS on Sunday. This is your typical pure example of a type of game that is going to be a low-scoring defensive affair. Like a 17-14, 21-17, 17-10, 14-10 is going to be your pure example of that. And this is a big game. I mean, this is a big game not only for the Dolphins, but a big game for the Titans. And the magnitude of this game can't be understated for the Dolphins. I mean, this is a game, if the Dolphins want to make the playoffs, they need to win this game. If they lose this game, their season's over. Forget about it. Mathematically, maybe they'll still be in it, but the Dolphins need to win this game. I mean, there's no sugarcoating it. If the Dolphins want to make a playoffs and really truly make a big statement on the road in Nashville against the Titans, they need to win this game. Now, here's the issue with the Dolphins. I've said this entire year. I just don't know how I feel completely about their offense. Their offense this season has been finicky. They've had moments of really good and they've had moments of really bad. And it's been it's been what you would expect out of a young offense, a second-year quarterback. That type of offense, still trying to find its identity, still trying to find its groove, still trying to find some confidence and really try to find something that really works universally for them. And for the Titans, on the other hand, it's been a little bit of a rough year for them, right? They went out in the offseason, signed Julio Jones, added that to already who they had A.J. Brown. They already had Tannehill, already had Derrick Henry. Well, Derrick Henry goes down. Julio Jones goes down. A.J. Brown was down for a while, and Tannehill was there. But now they get A.J. Brown back. You still have Tannehill, and you're still without Henry, and you're still without Julio. But A.J. Brown and Tannehill should be enough in this game, I do believe, to carry the load. Now, I do think the Dolphins are going to make the Titans a run for their money. I don't think this is going to be no cakewalk, but I do believe that the Titans will ultimately come out victorious. Give me the Titans 21-14. I think a late touchdown or something like that will definitely propel them to victory. I just don't believe yet. I just don't fully believe that this Dolphins team offense is good enough yet to compete with the Titans offense. Titans offense is nothing special, especially with all the injuries that have gone on. But in terms of what they can do with A.J. Brown and Ryan Tannehill, we've seen the damage that they can do. They showed it last Thursday night against the Niners. Niners struggled against them, and that's a good defense. Dolphins, I think, might struggle a little bit on the road. Loud environment, big game, lot on the line. Give me the Titans. Home field advantage and the slightly better offense. Titans win 21-14. I'll take the under on the over-under of 38.5, and I think the Titans win. Next up, we got the Eagles and Washington. Eagles come into this game 8-7. Washington comes in this game 6-9. The Eagles are 4-point favorites. The over-under is set at 45. This game goes on 1 Eastern on Fox on Sunday. And, another big game, too. If the Eagles want to make the playoffs, if the Eagles want to make this late push and, shock the NFL world, first of all, going into the season, you got to give credit where it's due with the Eagles. Going into the season, I don't think anybody expected the Eagles to do great things. I think a lot of people expected them to be the laughingstock of the league. I did. I certainly did. I think a lot of people expected the Titans and the Eagles to be the laughingstock of the NFL. That's not been the case. Eagles have not been the laughingstock of the league. The Titans definitely are there. Lions, Jaguars, all those teams, right? Giants. Here's the thing that separates the Jets is the Jets beat the Texans and the Jaguars. So if you want to say, there's a competition, well, the Jets beat the two laughingstocks. So you really can't consider the Jets there yet. The Jets have been for so long. But either way, back to my point. For what people expected, including myself, out of the Eagles this season, was a rebuilding roster, was a roster that was getting retooled, was a roster with a new head coach that really didn't have a proper vision at the time. And now we're sitting here going into week 17, and the Eagles are 8-7, and they get a road matchup against a struggling Washington team. And if you win this game, you'll be 9-7, and you'll be sitting really firmly in the NFC playoff picture. And you're like, where did this come from? Well, Jalen Hurts, if he continues to, do just enough, he's done just enough to help this team. If he can propel and get to that next level, it's an Eagles team you got to watch out for. Because they have talent. They really do. Their defense is solid. They got Devontae Smith, Goddard, Miles Sanders, obviously with the broken bone. It definitely hurts, but if Jalen Hurts can use his legs and really make the smart decisions on throwing and don't force the throws, it's an Eagles team that you got to watch out for in terms of a sneaky team going into the playoffs. And I do think they will take care of business against Washington. Washington, they're an interesting team, right? They're a team that going into this season, they really, expectations were there of them possibly competing for the NFC East. They had moments of it. They showed a lot of promise. Then they struggled. It's been a very streaky year for them, and they're currently in a streak where they're struggling, and they're not playing to the best of their ability. So I think the Eagles take advantage of that and get the win on the road and head into Week 18 with a record of 9-7. Give me the Eagles, 31-21 Eagles win. I'll take the over on the over-under 45, and I think the Eagles cover the 4 points. I don't think it's going to be an utter beatdown like the Cowboys did last weekend, but I do think the Eagles will win by 10 or so, somewhere around there. 31-21, 10-13 points, somewhere around there. Eagles win. Next up here, we got the Bills and the Falcons. Bills come into this game 9-6. Falcons come into this game 7-8. Bills are 14-point favorites, 2 touchdown favorites at home. The over-under is set at 44. This game goes on 1 Eastern on Fox. Now, this is a big spread. 14 points is a lot to be given a team, and a lot of teams a lot of times people like to bet the road dogs like this. 14 points at home is a lot. Bills coming off a big win last season in Foxborough on the road against the Patriots. It's kind of one of those interesting situations. It's like you could make the argument saying, coming off a big win, against the Patriots on the road like that, might make a team come out of the gates a little slow. But at the same time, you could also make the argument and say that could be like a season-changing victory right there, and the Bills from now on could just dominate and dominate going into playoffs and just have momentum all throughout playoffs and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting one of two ways. Do the Bills come out with a lot of energy? We beat the Patriots, boom, 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 get a very winnable game at home here, get to the 10-win mark on the season, or do they come out, kind of beat the Patriots and maybe a little slow to completely recover from that win and really get your mindset and focus ready for this game? It will be interesting to see how they respond. Now, through all this season, the Falcons still have a chance of making the playoffs. It's wild to think, it really is. They need a lot of help. But if they were to win this game, they go to 8-8. Let's say the Eagles lose and the Vikings lose, and they move to 7-9. I mean, you're talking about you're talking about the Falcons possibly getting. I mean, it really is weird how the Falcons this season, quietly, sneaky, have gone 7-8. And they win. Let's say they go on the road this week and beat the Bills. I mean, they would be 7-8. That's just crazy. They would be 8-8. That's just crazy to think. I don't think it's gonna happen. But they've been a weird, sneaky team this season. I do think the Bills ultimately win this game. I mean, I don't think there's much debate about it. I don't think the Bills cover. I think the 14 points is a lot to give. The more and more, it's tough. I mean, I could see this game being like a 31-14 win or a 31-17 win. I could also see it being like a kind of a shootout and being like a 35-28. So I'm going to go with 31-17, and I'm going to say the Bills just barely cover the 14, right on the dot at 14. So I'll give the Bills 31-17. I'll take the over on the over-under 44, and I think the Bills win. Bears-Giants, we'll get to that in a little bit. Next up, we got the Jaguars and the Patriots. Patriots come in this game 9-6. Jaguars come into this game 2-13. Patriots are 16-point favorites. The over-under is 41.5. This game's on 1 Eastern on CBS. I don't have to give you much details into this game. Patriots are going to win this one by a mile. Give me the Patriots 35-10. I'll take the over on the over-under 41.5, and I think the Patriots cover the 16 points. There's no need to give you much detail. Jaguars stink. Patriots are a solid team this year. They match up. That's how it rolls. Next up on the list here, we got the Colts and the Raiders. Colts come into this game 9-6. Raiders come into this game 8-7. The Colts are 7-point favorites. The over-under is set at 44. This game goes on 1 Eastern on Fox. Well, this is an interesting one. You have a surging Colts team and a Raiders team that's trying to make a late season playoff push. And It seems to be that way every year with the Raiders, where they always just seem to be the odd man out. Like, they start off the season really strong. People are talking about, oh, can the Raiders maybe compete for the AFC? Then they'll be like about like the 6-4 mark. Then they'll go to like 6-7. Then they'll win 2 more, 8-7, or something like that, and it'll be too late. It happens every year with the Raiders. It happened last year. They were like 5-3 last year. They lost like 3 in a row, went to 5-6. Then they won. They were like 6-6. They ended up finishing like either 7-9 or 8-8. And in the year, and then even the year before that, they were like 6-3 or something, and they finished like 7-9. It always happens with the Raiders or 5-3 or something. It always happens with the Raiders where they start off really strong, they look really good, and then they slump, they struggle, and in the final like 3 weeks of the season, they're like, oh, we can still make a playoff push, let's try to do it. And then they try to make a playoff push, and it becomes too late. This is a big week for the Raiders. If the Raiders win this game, they'll be 9-7. Definitely make things interesting. The AFC's stacked. They need a lot of things to happen in order for them to get in. When you have teams like the Ravens and all them battling for it, they need a lot to happen. But if they just take care of business and do what they need to do, it's all out of their control, then they can have, whatever happens. But here's the issue with the Raiders going into this game. Colts are a very hot football team right now. They're a team that is cruising, they're rolling, they're at home in front of their home crowd. It's one of these games where if you're the Raiders and you don't come into this game prepared, it could be 31-10 at halftime. And the Raiders have to be prepared for this. They have to come into this game with the mindset of, gotta strike early, gotta get a lead early, because if you fall behind in this game early, the Raiders are not going to come back. Jonathan Taylor, Carson Wentz, Michael Pittman, guys like that on the Colts offense are not going to make it easy for the Raiders on defense, especially if they fall behind early and lose. So they got to get out to an early start. They got to really get going early. And if they can, they'll make things interesting. But I think the Colts are just a better team. I think the Colts are the more skilled team. They're the more talented football team. At home, Jonathan Taylor, Carson Wentz. I just think it's going to be too much to contain Jonathan Taylor. I really do. Give me the Colts. We'll go 28-17 Colts win. I think they'll win pretty comfortably. I think they cover the 7 points, and the Colts win. I'll take the over on the over-under 44. I believe so, 28-17. 45. So I'll take the over on the over-under 44, and the Colts cover the 7 points. Like I said, at home, Jonathan Taylor, just too much for the Raiders to handle. Alrighty, so final 1 o'clock game here is another big one. We got the Rams and the Ravens. Rams come into this game 11-4. Ravens come into this game 8-7. Rams are 4.5-point favorites. The over/under is set at 46.5. And boy, oh boy, do we have a big, big game here in Baltimore at M&T Bank Stadium. Let me just give you the scenarios here. Let's just say the Ravens lose, they go to 8-8. Raiders win, they go to 9-7. Let's say all that happens. You're talking about a chaotic Week 18 that we would be witnessing in the NFL. If the season were to end today, the Ravens would not be in the playoffs. The Dolphins would be in, and the Ravens would be out. So these would be the 3 wildcard teams. These would be the 3 games playing the wild card, and what I believe the Bills would also be. These would be the division winners. It would be the Chiefs, Titans, Bengals, Bills, and it would be the Colts, Patriots, Dolphins. So that's just wild. So Ravens, if the season were to end right now, 10:16 p.m. a.m. Eastern, when I'm recording this podcast, if this season were to end right now, Ravens would be headed home, would be ready to go play golf in the offseason. And if they don't win this week, that reality will become a whole lot more likely if they don't win this week. And I get it. You can go through this season. And this is, if the Ravens don't make the playoffs, this is going to be a season to reflect. This is going to be an offseason reflection. It's going to be a tough offseason for Ravens fans in terms of what-ifs. Ravens fans are already probably playing the what-if game. What if we don't go for 2? What if those 2-point conversions convert, and I get that aspect of it. Being a fan, you always go through the what if. We're always victims of it. We always do it, right? I do it. I'll do it sometimes. I mean, I did it with the Jets a couple years ago. It was the one season where if the games were only 3 quarters, we would be 11-5, And I always said, what if? What if we won this? What if we did this? What if that? What if we went 11-5 that season and made the playoffs? What would have been Todd Bowles' future with the team? Like, there's so many things that could have happened, and so many things that the trajectory of the franchise could have changed. But you can't think about that stuff. You know, at the end of the day, what happened, and you gotta roll with it. And that's been the case with the Ravens. You know, you can't what if, you can't say, oh, what if this, what if that. You could do it all day long. At the end of the day, you're 8-7, and you need to win this weekend. And the looks of it right now is that Lamar Jackson's not going to play. So that's super concerning if you have to ask me. And I've predicted the Ravens to win back-to-back weeks without Lamar Jackson, with Tyler Huntley and Josh Johnson. I predicted the Ravens to win both weeks in a row. And the reason I said that is because it's been funny. The reason the Ravens lost last week against the Bengals was not because of Josh Johnson. He did his job. What did you expect Josh Johnson to do? He did what he needed to do. He went out there and filled in. It was their secondary. It was their defense. Their defense allowed Joe Burrow to throw for 525 yards and score, 40-something points? Right? So that's the issue going into this weekend. Everyone's going to talk about Lamar Jackson, but the biggest concern here is, can this secondary rebound from getting beat that badly? And they're facing up against Cooper Kupp. And Matt Stafford. And this Rams offense. Like, the Ravens right now are in a very difficult situation. Not only might their starting quarterback not be playing again, but they're in position to possibly have another week of rough play from their secondary. Their secondary looked lost last week against a Bengals team with really solid receivers. And they're going up against a Rams team this week with really solid receivers. And for that reason and that reason only, I think the Rams win this game. If Lamar Jackson was playing, I probably would have said maybe Ravens. But the reason I'm taking the Rams here is not because of the quarterback. It's not because Lamar Jackson's not playing. It's because this defense last week showed me so many negatives that I just don't know if they're going to be able to bounce back and go up against another good offense this week against the Rams. We'll see. Maybe it's because they're home, but give me the Rams 35-31 here. I think it is going to be a pretty close game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. But at the end of the day, I just don't think the defense is just going to be able to withstand it. It's going to be one of those things where they're just going to be scoring a ton, and the offense just isn't going to have enough answers. I don't think they cover the 4.5, but I do think the Rams win 35-31. I'll take the over by a mile at 46.5. And I think the Rams go on the road and beat the Ravens in Baltimore. And boy, oh boy, if this does happen, you talk about chaos, talk about a fan base that will be frustrated and angry, and talk about sleepless nights. Ravens fans could be getting a whole lot of those coming up. Give me the Rams. Alright, so now we move to the 4 o'clock games this weekend. Got a couple of these, and we'll get to the Sunday night, and then the Jets and the Giants. We're starting off with the Chargers and the Broncos. Chargers come into this game 8-7. Flip-flop their records. Chargers 8-7. Broncos the opposite at 7-8. The Chargers are 6.5-point favorites. The over-under is set at 45.5. This game goes on 4:05 p.m. Eastern on CBS. Well, hey, it's another big game. On paper, it might not look like a big game, but it's a big game in terms of the Chargers. And especially if the Ravens lose this weekend, and depending on what happens to the Dolphins, if the Chargers win, they could get right back into the race. They get right back into the thick of things. Now, if the Chargers were to lose this game, and the Dolphins lose, and the Ravens lose, and the Raiders win, well, then you have a whole nother scenario. But the Chargers are another team here. They just need to take care of business, and the other stuff will play out for them, right? I think if you're the Chargers, you got to go into this game with the mindset of this is a must-win, right? And the same thing with a lot of these other teams. Raiders, it's a must-win. Dolphins, it feels like a must-win. Raiders, like I said. Ravens, it's a must-win. Chargers, same thing here. This needs to be a must-win attitude for the Chargers, because the Chargers can't possibly go into this game, lose at home against a Broncos team that you definitely can beat. It's not like they're not beatable. The Broncos are a beatable football team. You obviously lost to them earlier in the season, but that doesn't mean that you can't beat them. You can beat the Broncos. They're a beatable football team. We've seen it 8 times this year. They're not anything special. So if you're the Chargers, right, you got to go into this game saying, hey, we're at home. We're against a beatable football team. We got to win this game. And you don't want to look too much around the NFL, but if you look at what the other teams are dealing with, the other teams you're battling, the Dolphins are on the road against Tennessee. The Ravens are at home, but they are playing the Rams. The Raiders are on the road against the Colts, right? Look at what the other teams around you are dealing with. And you look at your situation and you get a 7-8 Broncos team at home. I'd take that matchup. Ravens need to take advantage of this, and I think they will. I think the road loss against the Broncos, a couple weeks ago, I think was just a pure, just didn't play good enough and really struggled. Herbert had a tough day. It just goes to show you how much Herbert means to this football team. When Herbert's rolling, when Herbert doesn't play well, they lose. When Herbert plays well, they win. I mean, there's no other way to put it. So this is what the season comes down to Herbert. If Herbert plays well, they will win. If Herbert doesn't play well, they will lose. There's no other way to put it. This team relies on him. That franchise relies on him. And I do think Herbert will play well. And I think just too much offensive firepower for a Broncos offense that's been so iffy this year. Give me the Chargers. 24-17. I think they cover the 6.5. And I'll take the under on. I'll take the the over or the under? 24 plus 17 is 41. So I'll take the under on the over-under 45.5 and give me the Chargers the win and the cover of the 6.5 points. Next up here, we got the 49ers and the Texans. 49ers come into this game 8-7. Texans come in this game 4-11. The 49ers are 12-point favorites. The over-under is set at 44. This game goes on 4:05 Eastern on CBS. Look, I get it. People are saying, oh, Davis Mills looks good. And yes, Davis Mills has looked really good the past couple weeks. I understand all that. And we could sit here and talk about that and all that stuff, right? Oh, Davis Mills looks good. Maybe they'll get an upset win. I don't buy into any of it. Davis Mills has been playing better, but listen, whether Jimmy G or Trey Lance plays this weekend, the Niners are just a better football team. There's no other way around it. The Texans are rebuilding. They're struggling. They got a new head coach. They got a young roster. They got a roster that is in the rebuild phase. They got a roster that's kind of still with question marks. What's going to ever happen to Deshaun Watson? What are you doing with the quarterback? Is Davis Mills your guy? All those different questions, right? The Texans are one of the teams that have more questions than answers. And the Niners at the time, right now, if Jimmy G doesn't play, this is a little bit of a 2-for-1. They get a very winnable football game, and they get an opportunity to see their future starting quarterback in Trey Lance. So, the whole Jimmy G, Trey Lance thing is not going to change my pick. If Trey Lance plays, I don't think the Texans win. If Jimmy G plays, I don't think the Texans win. Okay? Whoever plays for the Niners, I ultimately think the Niners will win this game. And I think they'll win it by a pretty decent margin, 31-14. Davis Mills has played well, but this defense that the Niners are rolling out there, I just don't think he's going to do well enough, and I think the Niners win pretty comfortably, 31-14. I'll take the over on the over-under 44, and I think they cover the 12-point skim of the Niners. Next up here, we got the Cowboys and the Cardinals. Cowboys come in this game 11-4. Cardinals come in this game 10-5. Cowboys are 6.5-point favorites. The over-under is set at 52. This game goes on 4:25 Eastern on Fox. Another interesting game here. Another big game for the Cardinals, a big game for the Cowboys, and, Cowboys definitely need some help, but the way it's looking, it's like the Cowboys definitely need some help. But if the Cowboys can win this game and maybe get the Vikings to beat the Packers and things like that, you gotta hope that, things go in your favor, that the Cowboys could still win the NFC. It's still possible. It's not going to be easy. They need some help, and they need to take care of business themselves, but they still have a chance. And it's a big game for the Cardinals because the Rams are going up against and playing a good team against the Ravens. And ultimately, I do think the way they win, but it's not going to be a guaranteed win by any means. And you look at the Cardinals, and you have a tough game here against the Cowboys. And this is not going to be an easy game at all. And maybe you get a good week where you beat the Cowboys and the Rams lose, and now all of a sudden you jump right into it. But look, this is a Cardinals team that has just not been the same football team the past couple weeks. They're on a 3-game losing streak. They just haven't been the same team. And I thought they were going to win last week. I really did. I'm a big believer in if you have a bad loss the week before, you're going to come out that next week and you're just going to fire on all cylinders. You dominate. Usually the locker room that week, usually the coach says something to the guys like, hey, look at yourself, like figure this out, right? It's usually not a great conversation in the locker room, but it's something that guys take with them, take into the next week, and they dominate. That was not the case last week. And the Cardinals are just not this. They're just not the same team without DeAndre Hopkins. With DeAndre Hopkins, they're a potent football team with a really solid offense. Without DeAndre Hopkins, they're an average football team. There really is no other way to put it. They're an average football team with an offense. That just goes to show you the impact DeAndre Hopkins makes. Now, what are the Cowboys? The Cowboys are a very above average football team, and they have a very good offense, and their defense has been very good. And now you got to watch out what Kyler Murray does, because he's been in a little bit of a slump too. So give me the Cowboys the win here. And I think the Cowboys win pretty big here. I just have not liked what I've seen out of the Cardinals. Cowboys win 28-17. I'll take the over on the over-under, or under on the over-under of 52, and I think the Cowboys cover the 6.5. I just have not liked what I've seen out of this Cardinals team, and until they prove otherwise, they look lost without DeAndre Hopkins. Give me the Cowboys. 28-17. Cowboys win. Alrighty, so 3 more games here, then we'll get to the Jets and the Giants. We got the Seahawks and the Lions. Seahawks come into this game 5-10. Lions come into this game 2-12-1. Seahawks are 7-point favorites. The over-under is set at 42. This game was on Sunday, 4:25 p.m. Eastern on Fox. What's the craziest thing about all this is the Seahawks are, these two teams I believe are eliminated. Yeah, I believe they're all eliminated. Seahawks have been, I believe, eliminated. This is a game between the 14th seed and the 16th seed right now. So pretty much a game where it's going to be an ugly one. The biggest storyline going into this game, between these two teams. The biggest storyline going into this game between these two teams, given that, it's a 10-loss team and a 12-loss team, is will this be Russell Wilson's final game in a Seattle Seahawks uniform? And ultimately, or not Seattle Seahawks, because they still got one more week. Ultimately, will this be Russell Wilson's final home game with the Seahawks? And will next week be his final game, all in all, with the Seahawks? And that's where we've gotten this season with the Seahawks, and when you're 5-10 and you're looking for things to talk about, you tend to always fall on players that might leave. And listen, I'm not going to get into that stuff. All I know is this, right? His run there was amazing. He accomplished a lot of what he wanted to get done. So if it comes down to whether or not he stays or not, what he's done for that city, what he's done for that town is really simply remarkable. I delivered a Super Bowl to them, got them to 2, should have won 2, but we don't talk about that, right? The stupid interception at the end zone that I don't know what they were doing. We could go on and on about that, but what he's done for that city, what he's done for that team, what he's done for the organization, just really what he's done for, like I repeat myself, for the city. He's done so much for them, brought them such good winning football, and, all that, included, like I said, I don't really know Russell Wilson's thought process. I don't know what he wants to do. At the moment, he says he hope it isn't. Maybe he does. Maybe truly deep down inside, he wants to be a Seahawk. Maybe deep down inside, he feels it's time for a change of scenery and an opportunity to go to another team and win another championship. Because it also depends on where this organization head is. Is the organization decides to take the if they come to a fork in the road and it's still compete, or maybe go in a little bit of a rebuild. If they decide to take the rebuild route, Wilson's probably going to leave. And I think a lot of that will depend. What the Seahawks decide to do in the future will depend on Russell Wilson. And I understand recently he's had some things with the organization and all that stuff, but put all that stuff aside. It will be interesting. The vibe around the stadium on Sunday there in Seattle is going to be interesting. The unknown of whether or not it will be his final game, in Seattle with the Seahawks. But it's going to be interesting. But ultimately, I could go on and on about this. This would be probably a topic to talk about really in the offseason. But ultimately, I think the Seahawks win this game. I understand they've struggled this season. I understand they've been bad, but the Lions just aren't there yet. They really aren't, and they're just not good enough. So give me the Seahawks 24-10. I'll take the under on the over-under of 42, and I think the Seahawks win and they cover the 7 points. Next up here, we got the Saints and the Panthers. Saints come into this game 7-8. Panthers come into this game 5-10. Saints are 6.5-point favorites. The over-under is set at 38. This game goes on 4:25 Eastern on Fox. And look, right, the Saints coming into this game off a tough loss. Their playoff hopes pretty much done. Still have an outside chance, but the chances are just so slim. They need a lot of help. They need a lot of things to happen. They need, teams to lose out and them to win out. But this is a big opportunity for them to get another win. I mean, the Saints have a lot of questions in the offseason. Winston, what's going to happen with Winston? Is he your guy? Are they going to go out and sign a guy? Let's just say Russell Wilson decides to go elsewhere and decides to leave the Seahawks. Do the Saints maybe make a run at him? There's questions. There's so many different things you could say. Are you going back with Winston? Do you really believe he's the guy? Whatever it is. Ultimately, the Saints had a tough year. Saints had a tough year in terms of trying to figure out a quarterback replacement for Breeze, and I still think there's questions around it. I think the fan base, some of them want Winston. I think some of the fan base wants to look at somebody else. But it'll be interesting to see. Now, ultimately, you go into this game and you get a big opportunity because, this is a big opportunity for the, for the Saints to get in the win column, right? Finish out your home game this season with a win, and a Panthers team that's been completely dysfunctional this season. So I think the Saints are just the better football team in this one. I think they're the more skilled team. I know Ian Book and all that stuff. I don't even know if he's playing or whatever in this game, but give me the Saints at home, final home game of the season, and gosh, the Panthers' offense has been atrocious. Until the Panthers prove otherwise, that their offense can be better, I'm not picking them. I'll tell you that for sure. Another team with a lot of questions as well going into the offseason. Give me the Saints 21-17, or 21-10, Saints win. Panthers just can't do anything. I'll take the under on the over-under of 38, and the Saints cover the 6.5 points. Alrighty, so the final game for Sunday is the Packers and the Vikings. Packers come into this game 12-3. Vikings come into this game 7-8. Packers are 6.5-point favorites. The over-under is set at 45.5. This game was on Sunday, 8:20 p.m. Eastern on NBC. I believe with a Packers win and they need some things to happen, they can clinch the NFC and they can clinch that 1 seed. And, it's a big game here for the Packers. And not only that, but it's a big game for the Vikings. And if the Vikings want any outside shot of making the playoffs or making a run final week of the season, they need to win this game. How I feel about going into Lambeau, though. It's such a hard place to play. Packers have been dominant there, have been so good. It's a big game for Packers, right? An opportunity to clinch the NFC, an opportunity to, really go into the final week of the season with your focus on, hey, we got the NFC done, right? Let's get one more win and close out the year. Everything that people said about this Packers team come out of week 1 when they lost to the Saints and got crushed. It's been crazy. I mean, it really has been wild what they went through week 1, got crushed, and now coming here, playing week 17, and they're looking for their 13th win. It's the Packers. It's Aaron Rodgers, all that stuff, and they get an opportunity to clinch the 1 seed, and maybe this is the Packers' year. Maybe this is it. I just don't think the Vikings have enough firepower. Adam Thielen out for the year. Isn't Cook too or somebody out as well? Vikings just don't have enough firepower. They just don't have enough weapons to compete with the Packers roster this talented and this good. Give me the Packers 35-21. Packers win. I'll take the over on the over-under of 45.5, and I think the Packers cover the 6.5 points. So that is my Sunday game picks. I'll give you my Monday night game pick on Monday, like I usually do. That will be an interesting one. Because it's two teams that have an outside chance in the playoffs, but the chances are so, unlikely. So those are the games, on paper, they look good. But when you really look at, what, the stakes are, it's you have a chance, but an outside one. So we'll preview the Browns and the Steelers game on Monday night. Alrighty, so, anyway, got all those picks done. Now let's get to the Jets and the Giants picks. So we'll start off with the Jets like we usually do. Jets Broncos on Sunday, 1 Eastern on Fox. Buccaneers, rather. Did I say Jets Broncos? I meant Jets Buccaneers. Buccaneers come into this game 11-4. Jets are the opposite at 4-11. Buccaneers are 13.5-point favorites. The over/under is set at 44. This game goes on 1 Eastern on Fox. 98% of people think the Bucs will win this game. So the money line, 98% of people think the Bucs will win this game. So really pretty crazy that many people are on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers train here. It's not really that crazy. I mean, it's expected. And look, I know the Jets are not going to win this game. Spoiler alert, I'm not predicting the Jets. I know the Jets aren't going to win this game. I think all of us Jets fans realize that. But you obviously want to win. You hope they can get a win. You hope somehow they can beat the Bucs and, really get some fame for a little bit. Look, this is really what the storyline going into this game. And this is what you got to expect as a Jet fan. And this is what you got to ultimately hope. Ultimately, you hope you can find a way to pull out a win. We all know it's more than likely not going to happen. The chances are so small. The Buccaneers are such a good team, and the Jets are just 4-11, and they're struggling. They're a rebuilding team, and the Bucs are a team that's going to compete for a Super Bowl. It's Tom Brady. He's dominated the Jets his entire career. But this is what you got to take from the Jets, right? And this game really could get ugly. It might get ugly. There's a high chance it is ugly. But from a Jet fan perspective, and I'm going to have a tough time doing this as well. No matter what the score is of this game, because this could be a game that could be 42-10. It could be 42. It could be like a Washington Cowboys game that we saw last weekend. That's how bad it could be. It could be 24-0 coming out of the first quarter. It could be that bad. I'm fully expecting that, right? But what you have to take as a Jet fan going into this game is progress and what you see out of Wilson. Because this is Wilson's, I feel like, his first true big-time test against a really good team. Buccaneers are no joke. Their defense is no joke. Led by Todd Bowles, former Jets coach, right? Their defense is no joke. It really isn't. And they go into this game with a big opportunity to pad the stats and really just get to Wilson, make him make bad throws, right? Wilson's just got to, I feel like in a way the Jets got to block out who they're playing. Forget about it's the Bucs. Just pretend this is another week against another team and all that stuff. Because this might be a game that gets out of hand. This might look a whole lot like an Alabama versus New Mexico State type game. It could be. I mean, the roster differences in terms of talent, Bucs is all the way up here. Jets, you can't even see it's all the way down there. That's how different the roster talent is. So what you just have to take as a Jet fan and watch for is that Wilson, even though it's a really good roster in the Bucs, doesn't make the dumb mistakes, doesn't force the throws. And that's what Wilson's got to learn. Just because it's a good roster and a good Bucs team doesn't mean you switch anything. Do what you did last week against the Jaguars. Make the throws you need to make. Make the smart throws. Rush when you need to. Do what you need to do to help your team try and win the game. Because the last thing we need is for Wilson to get panicky and start panicking and start throwing balls all over the place. That's not the formula to beating a good football team. The formula to trying to beat a good football team and at least keeping the game close is to make the throws you need to make the throws that you're good at, make the throws that you trust yourself in. Don't force these crazy throws everywhere, because if Wilson begins to do that, then it's going to get real ugly, and it's going to get real ugly fast. Jets just need to try and find a way, at least just try and find a way to keep this game relatively close. I'm not saying 3-point game, but I'm saying even if it's a 10-point game, somehow find a way to cover the 13.5, right? Something like that. You're at home, final home game of the season. You just got to hope. But, and the defense too. It's going to be ugly. I fully expect it. But the defense against Tom Brady, ultimately, the ideal, you got to generate pressure. Ideally, you have to generate pressure. But it's going to be a big test for these corners. Big test for these corners against a really good quarterback and against some really solid receivers that fits in tight windows. It's going to be a big test for these corners and this young secondary that the Jets are going up against the best quarterback of all time in Tom Brady. So ultimately, I don't think the Jets win this game. My hope is that they can that they can somehow keep it close. Obviously, you would love to see a win. We all know that's not going to happen. But you just got to hope they somehow keep it close, right? Don't get blown out. Don't get crushed. Find a way to keep it close. Find a way to show some positive signs. And, on Monday, if it is a loss, right, at least you could take some positive signs. And that's what the Jets need to do. I don't think the Jets win this game. Shocker, if you haven't heard already. I'm full, I guess the old saying, prepare for the worst, hope for the best. So I'm preparing for the worst. 35-10 Bucs win. But I'm hoping for the best. And that's somehow the Jets upset, or somehow the Jets make this game, somehow the Jets make this a game, and there's a lot of positives, and a lot more positives than negatives coming out of this one. But ultimately, I think it's going to be Bucs 35-10. I think the Bucs cover the 13.5 points, and I'll take right on the dot at the over-under of 45. I think the Bucs win 35-10. Alrighty, Jets games in the books now. Now we get to the Giants and the Bears. Bears come into this game 5-11. Giants come into this game 5-10 rather. Giants come into this game 4-11. Bears are 5.5 point favorites. The over/under is set at 37. This game goes on 1 Eastern on CBS. 63% of people think the Giants will win this game. I gotta admit, I went back and forth with this game, just because of how bad the Bears are and how bad the Giants are, right? It's just two teams that are just completely out of it and really, really struggling. This is an interesting game for the Giants because, on paper, this is a game that you might be able to, definitely you can win. I mean, the Giants have a better chance of beating the Bears than the Jets do the Bucs, if you want to put it into terms like that. This is a winnable game for the Giants. It is. I'm going to continue to say with the Giants, right? My biggest issue is their quarterback. That's my biggest issue. Jake Fromm or Mike Lennon. Who's it going to be? And even if who is it, let's say it is Jake Fromm, can he do better than what he did last week? I mean, last week he was awful. He was atrocious last week, right? And if it is Mike Lennon, can he figure out a way to be way better than what he's shown? And I just don't know if they can do that, right? And the Bears coming off a big win on the road against the Seahawks, and I understand it's a struggling Seahawks team, but I don't think anybody saw that coming. It's one of these things that the Bears, it will be interesting to see how they come out of the gate, right? Do they come out of the gate, pumped up, got a win last week, let's continue it? Or do they come out of the gate, got a big win last week and not fully were able to overcome that and get over that big win, come out of the gate maybe a little slow? The Bears at home, it's kind of one of these things where if you are a Bears fan, you hope that this is Matt Nagy's final game as head coach. And if you're a Giants fan, I think a lot of people are hoping that this is Joe Judge's last road game as a head coach, right? They got one more home game next week, and it's interesting. It's definitely interesting to see what will happen in this game. I feel like this when I personally picked this game, I felt it was more of a toss-up because it's like when you look at the roster, right, you look at Giants offense, atrocious, awful. When you look at the Bears offense, it's not that good either. So you look at the Giants defense, it's Bears defense, it's right? These two teams are so even, and the records say it. I mean, the Bears are 5-10, Giants are 4-11. There's not much of a difference there. One game difference, right? If the Giants win, they'll be 5-11. Bears will be 5-11. These teams are very even. Their quarterbacks are Justin Fields has been he's going through the rookie stage. He's made some mistakes. He's shown some flashes, but he's made some rookie mistakes. And for the Giants, they're working with two backup quarterbacks that good chance they're not even on the roster next season, right? So Giants, if you're a Giant fan, I know some fans have kind of given up now. I know a lot of fans, some Giants fans have been rooting for losses to get better draft position. This is actually a case where you're going to root for a win. Because if you are a Giants fan and you've been rooting for losses for draft position, you want this game to be a win because you have the Bears pick. So if the Bears win this game, that's going to become a worse pick. If the Giants win this game, that will mean it'll be a better pick. So if you are rooting for losses, this is like your Super Bowl here. You want the Giants to win this game because the Bears are holding your pick. Or you have the Bears pick rather. But ultimately when I came down to it, because I got to admit, I had a tough time picking this game. I really did. Ultimately coming down to it, I do think the Bears will win this game. I think they're at home, and I just think they're slightly better. Not by much. I just don't know. I can't really see myself picking the Giants, right? So Bears at home, coming off a big win. Give me the Bears. Low scoring affair, 17-14 Bears win. I don't think they cover the 5.5, but I think the Bears win 17-14. I'll take the under on the over-under of 37. I think the Bears win. Alrighty, so that's what I got for my NFL game picks over the weekend. Let me just run through them for you. So I got the Chiefs winning, Titans winning, Eagles winning, Bills winning, Bears winning, Patriots winning, Colts winning, Rams winning, Chargers winning, 49ers winning, Cowboys winning, Seahawks winning, Saints winning, and Packers winning. And then obviously I have the Buccaneers over the Jets as well, which I hope is not the case, but we'll see how that all goes. By the way, some news here. Lakers traded Rajon Rondo. So Cleveland acquires veteran point guard from LA after Ricky Rubio's season-ending injury. So Lakers strike a trade, and so not a huge move, to be honest with you. It's really not a huge move. By the way, just a little update on that Lions-Seahawks game. Lions head coach Dan Campbell tells reporters that quarterback Jared Goff, dealing with a knee injury, is doubtful to play. Looks like Tim Boyle again. So more of a reason why I think the Seahawks at home will win, and maybe they come out with a little extra chip on their shoulder, knowing that this could be it for having a brain freeze here for Russell Wilson. So, alrighty. Anyway, let me get to the college football and stuff first, just so I don't forget about that stuff. Then we'll get to the fantasy football and the rest of that stuff to wrap up the podcast here in a few minutes. I'll start off with the NBA and get to the NHL and stuff like that. Today we got the Suns Celtics. I'll give Suns the win. Bulls Pacers. I'll give Bulls the win. Mavericks Kings. Give Mavericks the win. Heat Rockets. Give Heat the win. Raptors, Clippers, give Raptors the win. Hawks, Cavs, give Hawks the win. Knicks, Thunder, give Knicks the win. Grizzlies, Spurs, give Grizzlies the win. Jazz, Timberwolves, give Jazz the win. And Lakers, Trailblazers, I'll give Lakers the win. As for the NHL, got a few games on today as well. Got the Devils, Oilers, I'll give Oilers the win. Golden Knights, Ducks, give Golden Knights the win. Capitals, Red Wings, give Capitals the win. And that is it. Rangers also play today against the Lightning. Rangers come into this game 19-8-4. Lightning come into this game 21-7-4. Over-under is set at 6. This game comes on today, 7 Eastern, on MSG and Bally Sports Sun. 63% of people in the Rangers will win this game. I don't. Lightning are a really good team. I don't see the Rangers winning this game. Hope I'm wrong, but we'll see how it goes. As for college basketball, Kentucky plays today. Only top 25 game going on today on New Year's Eve. Kentucky comes into this game 10-2. High Point comes into this game 6-7. Kentucky is 27.5 point favorites. The over/under is set at 135.5. This game goes on today, 12 p.m. Eastern on SEC Network. And then as for college football, big games on today. We'll actually start off with this. Rutgers Wake Forest will kick off the day of football. Wake Forest coming into this game 10-3. Rutgers coming into this game 5-7. Wake Forest is 17-point favorites. The over/under is set at 63. This game goes on 11 a.m. Eastern on ESPN. So just a couple minutes from now, I'll make sure to get this pod done and then watch it. So this is gonna be a fun game. I'm excited for it. I think Wake Forest wins, but it's good to see Rutgers back in a bowl game. Alrighty, so today we got the two big college football semifinal games. We're going to kick it off with the Cotton Bowl. At number 1 Alabama versus number 4 Cincinnati. Alabama comes into this game 12-1. Cincinnati comes into this game with a perfect record of 13-0. Alabama's 13.5 point favorites. The over/under is set at 57. This game goes on today, 3:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. This is the Cotton Bowl at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. And the percentage of people think 58% of people think Alabama will win this game. Now, here is my pick. I hope that Cincinnati wins. I really do. At the end of the day, my hope is that Cincinnati wins. I want Cincinnati to win. I don't want to see Alabama back in another national championship. But when I make these picks, you got to be realistic with it. I think it's great that college football got, Cincinnati in there. I think it's great Cincinnati had a great season and they did enough to, show the voters that they deserve to be in. And Cincinnati did deserve to be in this. And they went 13-0. They beat Notre Dame on the road. They did what they needed to do to prove that they deserve to be in the top 4 teams. And look, it's not going to be easy. Do I think they're going to win? No. But I do think it's going to be closer than what some people think in terms of Cincinnati versus Alabama. I really do. I understand the town's completely different and stuff like that, and everyone keeps saying that, but Cincinnati went on the road and beat Notre Dame, and I understand that's only one game, but for a non-Power 5 school to go on the road and beat a team like Notre Dame, beat a football program like Notre Dame, is not an easy thing to do. And when you do it, it deserves credit. It deserves to be shown across college football. So I do think Alabama wins this game, but don't be surprised if Cincinnati keeps this thing relatively close. I'm not saying 3-point win, but I'm saying 10, 13 points. Don't be surprised. A lot of these people saying, it's going to be 35-7 at halftime. I don't fully buy into that. Maybe that is true, but I have that feeling that don't be surprised if this game is slightly closer than you ultimately expect. I do think Alabama wins 35-24. I don't think they cover the 13.5 points, but I do think Alabama wins 35-24. Alabama wins. Bryce Young and Nick Saban head on over to the national championship. And your next game is Michigan and Georgia. Georgia comes into this game number 13 ranked in the nation, 12-1. Michigan's second team ranked in the nation, 12-1. Georgia 7.5-point favorites. The over-under is set at 46. This game was on today, 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. The Orange Bowl at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. This is the second game. 79% of people think Michigan will win. And like I said, 58% of people think Alabama will win. This is the part where it boggles my mind with the whole favorites and the odds and stuff and where they rank teams. So here, get this. They ranked Michigan as the number 2 team in the nation. And they put Georgia number 3. Now, they could have put Michigan number 2 and Georgia number... They could have put Michigan number 3 and Georgia number 2. They could have done any of that. But listen to what they did. They put Michigan in front of Georgia, and yet they make Georgia the favorite. It makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense. This is the part of college football where I don't understand. You put Michigan in front of Georgia, so you believe Michigan's the better team, but yet you make Georgia the favorite because Georgia's the better team? I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. The whole odds are confusing. I've said this for a long time now, ever since Michigan beat Ohio State. I think Michigan's winning the whole thing. I really do. So, spoiler alert, I'm picking Michigan to win this game. I think Michigan's winning the whole thing. From what I see from my standpoint, I don't see a team out there right now that can stop this Michigan run game. I don't. You could say Georgia's defense. Well, if you ask me, their defense looked pretty bad against a really good Alabama offense. So you could say the same thing again. Well, guess what? This is a very good Michigan offense. I don't think anybody can stop this Michigan run game. I really don't. Really good run game, really good blocking. You get to, Aiden Hutchinson's coming off the edge. Georgia had a tough time dealing with pressure against Bama. Michigan's going to deliver pressure. Michigan's going to do a lot of what Bama did against Georgia, and Georgia didn't handle it well. And Michigan's going to deliver pressure. They're going to run the ball. They're going to be high-powered on offense. They're going to run you down. I don't trust this Georgia defense anymore. I think Michigan wins this game. 31-21, Michigan wins. I think they win pretty comfortably too. This Georgia offense I just don't trust enough, and I trust this Michigan defense. 31-21, Michigan wins. I'll take the over on the over-under of 46, and I think Michigan wins. Give me Michigan plus 7.5. Michigan wins. So those are my 2 picks for the college football playoff. Alabama and Michigan in the finals, and I will give you my pick whenever all that comes around. So that's what I think, but I didn't see enough out of Georgia for me to really trust them. If Georgia beat Alabama and Georgia was maybe the 1 and Michigan was the 2 or whatever, I would have said Georgia might win it all. But I just did not see enough out of Georgia. I just didn't. All right, so let's get to fantasy basketball. I'm currently winning 450 to 357. Today I've got going John Morant, Rashawn Holmes, Buddy Hield, and Desmond Bane. Some updates. Darius Garland, John Collins I also got going, but they're out, so that'll be interesting. Health and safety protocols. John Collins also health and safety protocols. Miles Bridges health and safety protocols. I got Donovan Mitchell going tonight, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander going tonight as well. So that's what I got going tonight. As well, Alexander's day-to-day. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's day-to-day. Gilgeous-Alexander ankle is questionable for Friday's game against the Knicks. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. And Brandon Ingram still day-to-day. Alrighty, as for fantasy football, I'm currently projected to win 111 to 83 in my one league, so that's good there. This is my lineup. I got Justin Herbert, Nick Chubb, Michael Carter, Justin Jefferson, I was about to say Antonio Cooper for some reason. Amari Cooper, A.J. Brown, George Kittle, Antonio Gibson, Eagles defense, and Tyler Bass. And these are the injury updates. So A.J. Brown still questionable. Brown calf didn't practice Thursday. Jim Wyatt of the Titans official site report. So it will be interesting to see what happens with him. Antonio Gibson hip wasn't present for Thursday's practice and is set to be listed as a non-participant on Washington's official report. Nikki Jahabla of the Washington Post reports. So that's the update there. And the two injury updates on my bench. Elijah Moore yet to resume practicing, and Chase Edmonds back was limited yesterday. So that's the update there. And as for my other league, I am projected to lose 53% chance. My opponent has 123 to 113. So hopefully that shifts in my favor and I win. This is my PPR league, by the way. My other league was my non-PPR league. So this is the PPR league lineup. Ryan Tannehill, Alvin Kamara, Dante Foreman, A.J. Brown, Marquise Brown, Dalton Schultz, Amari Cooper, Eagles defense, and Tyler Bass. A lot of injuries in this league. A.J. Brown, but I'll just read you that. Marquise Brown also. Brown didn't practice Thursday due to an illness. So those are my two starting lineup injuries. Jameson Crowder's questionable. Crowder calf remained sidelined at practice Thursday. Rich Cimini of ESPN reports. Jimmy Garoppolo still questionable with the thumb. Elijah Moore I just read. And McKissick's on IR. So those are your updates there. So getting hammered pretty good with injuries, but hopefully they'll be all ready to go for the weekend. So we'll see. But yeah, that will do it for the podcast here today, and that will do it for the podcast in 2021. So hopefully you all enjoyed it. I will see you on the flip side in 2022. Enjoy all the great football on today. I got Rutgers game starting up real soon. You got the two college football playoff games. You got Kentucky basketball before all that stuff comes on. So that's great. Really looking forward to it. A lot of really good games. So that'll do it for the podcast here today. As always, hopefully you all enjoyed it. I will see you all back here tomorrow. As you all know, I take breaks on the weekend. So I will see you all back here on Monday. Hope you enjoyed it. And thanks for watching.